Okay, so here's going to be an illustration on how you can do your closing entries. And if you can follow this as exercise 6.1, you can do all of them. So the idea here is we want to close out our temporary accounts. And remember, the temporary accounts are revenues, expenses, and the drawing. So think of anything on the income statement and the drawing account. Everything else, which includes, this is basically on the balance sheet, is considered a permanent account. So we don't close those out. So I always say start with my revenues. In this case, there's one revenue account. It's fees income. It's $53,750. So to close out a revenue, we're going to debit it. So we will debit fees income, and we're going to credit income summary for the $53,750. So that's our first one. So the second one then is to close out the expense accounts. Notice they list them all here. So to close out those, we're going to have to credit them. So we're going to be debiting the income summary account. So basically you just do a compound entry here. I'll list them individually. So you have depreciation expense. You're going to have your salaries expense, supplies expense. We got telephone, and finally utilities. And so if I list all these, your depreciation looks like credit 2750, salaries is 17,000, you're going to credit that. Supplies is 3,000, credit that. Telephone expense is 2,600, credit that. Utilities expense is 4,650, credit that. If you add all these up, you get a total expense of 30,000, which you put into income summary. That would be your second closing entry. The third closing entry, I'm going to put the T account over here. If you look at income summary, once you posted the first two entries, you would have put the revenues, which is $53,750 on the credit side, and the expenses of $30,000 you would have put on the debit side. So right now you're looking at a balance and income summary of $23,750, which represents net income actually. But now we want to close this account out to zero. So what you do is, in this case, you're going to be debiting income summary for $23,750, and you're going to be crediting the capital account, which in this case it's Maria Hernandez Capital, for $23,750. Once you do this, this account goes to zero. The last closing entry is to close out drawing, which is $26,000. So because that has a debit balance, we're going to have to credit it. So it will simply debit capital for $26,000, and you're going to credit the drawing account for $26,000. So that's your four entries. If you can follow this example, you can do any of the problems that says do closing entries. These are the four steps. I would recommend you do it in this order.